I'm Will with CHGO Bulls, and today we're going to be looking at some guards that the Bulls could be drafting with the 11th overall pick in the 2024 NBA draft. And look, there's guys like Reed Sheppard, Rob Dillingham, Nikola Topic, who could all be off the board by the time the Bulls pick at 11. So today we're going to be looking at Isaiah Collier and Devin Carter. Let's start with Isaiah Collier, who is a freshman at USC. He'll be 19.7 years old on draft night, and currently he's been projected in the 11 to 19 range with an average draft position of 13.4. 6'2.5" without shoes at the combine, with a 6'4.75" wingspan and a 34-inch vertical, so explosive athlete. Per 75 possessions this year, he averaged 23.4 points, 4.1 rebounds, 6.2 assists, 2.1 steals, and 4.7 turnovers. He also shot 49% from the field, 54% on twos, 33.8% from deep, and 67.3% from the free throw line. The first thing that you'll notice watching him is he is strong and he has an NBA-ready build. Explosive first step as a driver. He was one of the top recruits in his high school class because of the pressure that he puts on the rim and his physicality getting downhill. Just absolutely elite at getting to the rim and creating offense, whether it's for himself, finishing at the rim where he finishes well with really good touch, but also just elite playmaking and passing on the drive, in transition, and just in the half court in general. He can play with a change of pace. He's got a great start and stop game, good ball handler, and just looks like a guy who's ready to play in the NBA with great touch, great physicality, and a really incredible knack for drawing fouls. 49.7 free throw rate, which basically means every 2 shot attempts he's getting to the line, which is the highest by any guard prospect in this class by a mile. So he's great in the open floor. He can really punish defenses and get downhill. And then that passing, I mean, really a true point guard in the sense of the word. He can score, but he's also really good with his vision, with his passing instincts, finding open shooters on the opposite side of the court, putting the ball in their shooting pocket. The questions with him, though, is the shooting. Really poor three-point shooting at the college level, 33.8%, and it was on low volume. Only a quarter of his shots were from beyond the arc, and then also 67% at the free throw line. Those are not great indicators as far as his potential to become a better shooter at the next level. He does have a decent mid-range shot, but I think that's an area where he's really going to need to improve, because with that three-point shooting, defenses are just going to go under screens and dare him to shoot. And so, he's fast and explosive enough to get to the rim, but he will also need to develop a good, consistent mid-range jumper to open some of that stuff up. But the question with him is, can he still be effective if he doesn't dominate the ball? In college, in high school, he's always had the ball in his hands, but what happens if he's not talented enough at the NBA level to be a true offensive initiator? Will he be able to adapt? What does that say about his jump shot, and will he be able to do it? The next question about him is the turnovers. A lot of turnovers per game in college, but a lot of that is just making mistakes and learning on the fly. He was on a very disorganized team at USC, and I think for a lot of young players like that, it's okay to make mistakes and it's okay to try stuff and learn through that experience. He was much better, 4.5 assists per game to 2.8 turnovers after coming back from his month-long injury. But if you draft Collier, he is going to be a ball-dominant guard. He is a point guard that will need the ball in his hands. But this would represent a pick for the Bulls where you're taking a swing on upside. Some of the other primary point guards would be off the board in this situation, and you want to find a guy who you can put the ball in their hands and be the point guard of the future. DeRozan, 35 years old going into the season. If the Bulls bring him back, they've got to set it up so that there are more guys who can create offense down the line, and Collier could be that guy. So he's kind of similar to an Eric Bledsoe type of point guard, really strong, really explosive, maybe a Baron Davis who can create his own offense, but he's got a lot to work on with the jump shot and the turnovers. Next, let's look at Devin Carter, who's a junior at Providence. He'll be 22.3 on draft night, and he's currently mocked a little bit lower in the 10 to 21 range with an average draft position at 15.3. Carter was 6'2.25" without shoes at the combine, but a 6'8.75" wingspan and a 42-inch max vert. So really explosive athlete, really long, and can slide up and guard multiple positions. He was super productive at the college level per 75 possessions last season, 24.5 points, 10.8 rebounds from the guard position, 4.5 assists, 2.2 steals, 1.1 blocks, and 3.4 turnovers. He shot 47% from the field, 56.3% on twos, 37.7% from three, and about 75% from the free throw line. And the first thing you notice with him is his defense. He is an absolutely vicious defensive havoc creator who will hound at the point of attack. He will jump passing lanes. He will get into guys' shirt and guard them 94 feet. He's relentless with his energy and athleticism. Very physical player despite the size. Like I said, 42-inch max vertical, which was the best at the combine, tied with a couple other players. But he uses that physicality to get to his spots on offense and on defense, getting over screens, fighting through contact, and even just getting downhill with the ball in his hands. And that plus 6.5-inch wingspan really helps him out. Also an incredible defensive rebounder from the guard spot, 8.7 rebounds per game. But he really can operate as an offensive creator. He was very good in the pick and roll last year, did not turn over the ball too much, and had a high usage rate and a high assist rate. So goes to show that he was a good decision maker with all the volume that he had. He's not really creating openings for guys and passing guys open, but he makes the simple read, he makes the right play, and finds guys for easy shots. And Carter was one of the most productive players in NCAA history. For the players who matched his defensive rebounding percentage, his assist rate, his steal rate, his block rate, and his three-point percentage, it was guys like Draymond Green, Evan Turner, and Kyle Anderson. So these like do-it-all point forward types, but he's much smaller, obviously at 6'2". He's somebody that can really produce at a really high level. And even though some of those guys aren't superstars at the NBA on offense, they are really good at what they do, and they can have a place in an NBA offense. The questions with him, let's start with the shooting. Obviously, he shot well, and he shot a lot, 6.8 attempts per game and 37.5% from deep. But he's got a bit of a hitch in his shot, kind of a funky form. And he was not a good shooter his first 2 seasons, shooting just under 30% on 3.5 threes his sophomore year and 26.7% on 2 attempts per game his freshman season. So he got a lot better. He did shoot the ball well, and that was a huge improvement area, but there are questions longer term just about his track record as being a high-level shooter. And then the scoring, he did score at a very high level in college, but was not an elite facilitator. So he probably factors in at the NBA level as more of an off guard who can attack closeouts and create some secondary offense, but he's not somebody that you're necessarily putting the ball in his hands. So I think he would fit really well next to a guy like Kobe White in the backcourt. He kind of reminds me in some ways of Ayo Dosunmu, but much more physical, much more explosive, and a better shooter at this stage. More similarities, guys like Davion Mitchell, Brandon Pajemski, and maybe even Bruce Brown. So kind of a creative, do-it-all forward type who's going to play a little bit on the ball, but mostly off the ball, and just be a mess defender, really create a lot of havoc on that end. So that's Isaiah Collier, who's more of an upside swing, and Devin Carter, who is ready to go, who can help impact the game right away on the defensive end and as a shooter. And if you want to hear more about some of the prospects the Bulls could look at, tune in to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel and follow us at CHGO Bulls for all of our Bulls coverage.
We all silly like the mayor.